Emily's views, her position on the issues, her point of view backed up by the facts. Here are Emily's views.
Leadership is very, very important. World leadership, the type of leader that particularly nations that we look to, the leaders that they have, would give a powerful signal as to how a particular moment is to be handled. And I have said on this program that I've always wondered how on earth Hitler was able to do what Hitler did. But I have managed in my very short time here on earth so far, as have you, to have witnessed a number of things in the world, particularly during this pandemic, where the quality of the leadership dictates the quality of the followership, which dictates the outcome for all of us, especially during a pandemic. I am absolutely sure that if there was another president in the United States apart from the one they had as the 45th president of the United States, when unfortunately the COVID pandemic commenced. And I am absolutely sure that if the United Kingdom had another prime minister than the one it now has in the form of Boris Johnson, at the commencement of the COVID pandemic, the world would be an entirely different place right now. Because regrettably, what has happened with the COVID pandemic is that the leadership, especially the leadership of the United States then, made a health crisis, a political crisis, and you cannot erase some of the seeds that have been planted and which have caught root out here, caught root all over the world, because of the politics of misinformation which was deliberately conveyed to the people. There are some states, you go in the United States now, if you wear a mask, they brand you a Democrat. And once you're without it, it would be mumbled that you're Republican. And such has been the beginning of our downfall at a time when we should have learned, we should have harkened back to the days of what they call the Spanish flu. We should have seen the devastation it caused over 100 years ago. But we should have been comforted in our increased knowledge and what is supposed to be our increased understanding of things and do things differently. But we are no wiser. In fact, we are fuller now, 100 years later, than our people who never had at their disposal some of the things we have now. I've got to the point, realizing where we are in Jamaica, and realizing how vocal the ignorant majority happen to be. How vocal they are and find all sorts of reasons why they cannot take the vaccine. Why it cannot go in their bodies? Why all of a sudden their bodies are temples of the Lord, and nothing that is not going to replenish it in some way is going to go in to defile it? Because everybody who take vaccine, if you put magnet on them, it stick. And you listen to them recite the folly, and you dare not compete. Because there comes a time when we have to say, que sera, sera. And many of us are going to die. It is appointed unto men once to die, but some of us don't have to accelerate our deaths. But I suppose if you believe in destiny, then a couple people believe your time of birth and your time of death are certain, and everything in between, some free will issues come in. So maybe there's nothing you can do. But why it concerns me as a vaccinated person, and why it should concern every vaccinated person in this country, that the unvaccinated is so large and remain so stupid in their stupidity, is because when the hospitalization for the unvaccinated increases, then those of us who could be saved because of minor, non-critical illnesses that we have, but will require treatment at the hospitals, we will not be saved because the staff at the hospital, they just don't have enough to go around. And therein lies the problem. People, I realize, when they talk about government, they don't realize that it's not, the concept of government is not a far removed concept from the people really. So when you say government, we tell the people them this and government and do this and that's why people not here, there's hardly much more that can be done right now, because people have hardened their positions in their folly. You cannot reason with them. No town crier will help. They're not hearing the cries, and you watch, when government MPs, as I understand Julian Robinson is doing, start sending out town criers in the community, you're going to say, yes, I dead them one, if you dead off quick, them I send the people them if you come tell, if you come out, if you come get vaccination. The more you increase the message, is the more they're going to say you're seeking to kill them off. And there's nothing that you can do to be right for these people. They have tuned out and they're in their own zone. They're not going to hear you. Go back to Genesis. Go back to Noah. Go back to the commands of God to Noah to build the ark, because a particular situation was going to happen. And Noah warned 130 years. 130 years about the coming of the flood. And while people may have been skeptic religiously back in the days, it is akin to the vaccine skepticism that we're having now. And why it makes no sense in this day and age is because whilst one can probably understand religious skepticism, when we're talking about science, there is such degree of predictability about the outcome because of how certain science is. So when science tell you, say, hey, if you repeat the experiment which led to A under the same circumstances which led to A, you're supposed to get the same A result. Or worse, in the case of a virus that keeps mutating. So hundreds and thousands of years ago, despite all the warnings of Noah, only Noah, his wife, his children's wives, and the animals were in the ark. And when the flood came for 40 days and 40 nights, there were people beating down the door of the ark. This is what is going to happen with this new variant. We are at a spot, I'm telling you, where who fi dead going just dead. Can't now listen. Who fi live, who fi dead. That's what happened now on the ark. You have the first coming. The second coming was promised with fire. We don't know if a physical fire or if a COVID fire. 200 million people have been infected around the world. Over 4 million have died around the world, and more will die. But I suppose since we are a Christian country and we're so caught up in the purity of our bodies and don't want to put anything in, never mind we smoke herb, never mind we drink rum, never mind we body full up of lies, we body full up of covetousness, we body full up of greed, we body full up of toxins from every unimaginable thing. But we cannot entertain this vaccine. Since we're Christians, you can't go heaven if you're not dead. So you must be ready. You don't want to hear? Be ready. I don't know what's going to happen to me, because having been vaccinated, I may catch it. And nobody knows what's going to happen when you catch the virus, but I have given myself the absolutely best chance of surviving by taking the vaccine. And I will mention this about taking the vaccine now, because we don't miss a beat to beat down on our people. We don't miss a beat to have no whole-scale analysis of a situation. All of you know I lost my daddy some months ago. I had to travel to the United States. And I went to the United States to literally have my daddy die in my arms. Not from COVID. An inexplicable and bizarre circumstance. When I traveled, I used the opportunity for a number of reasons, the chief of which was I'm so infuriated by the approach of rich countries like the United States that if ever I was in that jurisdiction, I was going to ensure, so long as I don't break any rules, I take the vaccine when I'm traveling. I booked the appointment to go for my vaccine. Had to travel a good distance to the appointment center, which happened to have been in a church, one of the churches where a lot of the black civil rights leaders attended. And when I walked those walls and looked at all of the plaques on the wall and the pictures, all of these powerful women, I just felt absolutely blessed. But guess what? They gave me a certain time for my appointment. And when I showed up, there was no separating you from anybody else. Everybody had to wait for over 2 hours. I had to sit and wait. And guess what? After the 2 hours on the day of my appointment, I was told, I'm sorry, you can't get it. Because we had a number of people who walked in and who, by virtue of them being older than you, we have given them the vaccines because of the limit we have for the day. So you're going to have to come back tomorrow. And I said to the lady, should I come back here tomorrow? And she says, yes, we're going to be here. And they started packing up their stuff because they pitched these tents. And you go in, you get your vaccination in a booth, and then you go and you sit inside the church hall for your 20-minute observation. When I turn up the next day at this place, not a tent, no set up. The people not coming back to that place, they're gone. And luckily, the church was open. We went and asked the churchman, what happened? Why are the people not here? They said they're not coming here today, they're gone somewhere else. I don't quarrel. I was not the only one there. There were a number of other people who were there the day before and who did not get their vaccine, though they had the appointment. Me locked my tail. I sent an email to the people with whom I booked the thing, and they said, Mrs. She's okay, we'll call you back and tell you where we are. And for hours I waited to find out where I was going to go, and I didn't get an email until pretty late. And you turn up, and when you turn up, you have to wait over an hour and a half. This is the United States. So this incessant quarreling, this majoring in the minor about things are not going right in Jamaica, please stop it. Please cut it out. Focus on the picture. Don't focus too much on the picture frame. Our health crisis is under our health workers are under some serious pressures. Oh no, cut it out. Oh no, too fussy. When you turn up, carry a chair. Carry some alcohol, carry some ginger tea and some crackers if you're going to be hungry. And empathize instead of making a mole out of every single thing. It is absolutely distracting. This is a big crisis, you know. People are tired, people are frustrated, and the least you can do is go somewhere and be prepared to wait. Without murmur. We're too much. Basil Jarrett, Major Basil Jarrett, has a beautiful article in the newspaper today. He's a guest columnist, and you should return, Basil. By the way, are you still in the JDF? Because I'm seeing here is a communication strategist and CEO of Artemis Consulting, a consulting firm specializing in crisis communication and reputation management. Kuya? Reputation management. Basil says, Major Jarrett, the COVID infodemic. No, you didn't read that wrong. It wasn't a misprint or a typo. The COVID infodemic is real. But unlike its pandemic counterpart, chances are you've already infected and currently suffering from this debilitating ailment. Symptoms include confusion, paralysis of analysis, suspension of confidence, or belief in anything you read, knowing too much while at the same time knowing very little, and a sudden onset of tiredness and fatigue whenever you hear the word curfew. And it goes on, a beautiful article. that sums up where we are. And where I'm at with this thing, and where I think you need to be, we're going to leave people to their own folly. Because sometimes when you try to convince people, they're going to find reasons to say you're forcing them to do something. So, those of you who have read well and have understood well, you have given yourself and your families a chance. And those who have not, que sera, sera. Here's what she said.